Can you spot the mistake in this curl? If you can't, try to think about the force of the cable on the elbow and the shoulder and what it's actually doing to the body. Because a lot of people set up cable curls this way in the hopes that it'll train more of a stretch position without recognizing the crucial mistake we're going to go over today. So in this video, you're going to figure out what's wrong with these curls, what to do instead, and then later in the video, I'm going to provide a different exercise that you can do altogether with dumbbells that I don't see very many people doing that can problem solve for a lot of the things we're going to go over in the cable curl. All right, so what's the mistake? The mistake is putting the cable too high, and more specifically, trying to load the bottom position of the movement as much as possible around that 90-degree angle. And many people think that this is just universally a good thing to load more of the stretch position without considering other more practical things about an exercise. So take the example of this cable curl. What do you notice about the direction of force in relation to the elbow and then also the shoulder? What you'll note is that the cable's line of force is twice the distance to the shoulder as it is the elbow. And basically what this means is that the cable is imposing twice the amount of resistance on the shoulder as compared to the elbow in that bottom position. I mean, just think about it super simply and non-technically. If you were going to do some kind of cable raise or cable fly type motion, this is exactly how you might set it up in the bottom to load your shoulder more and your elbow less. So yes, although you are loading the bottom more, you're also disproportionately putting a tax on the shoulder that's going to make it much more difficult for you to actually create output in the elbow muscles, mainly the biceps, the brachialis, and the brachioradialis. So what's the solution to this? Well, it's actually really simple. Just lower the cables. When you lower the cables and you load your arms at a little bit more of a diagonal angle, now you're still loading the bottom proportionately more than the top, but you're not overloading the shoulder to nearly the same degree as you were in the first variation where the cable was angled close to 90 degrees from the arm and the bottom. It's important to keep in mind that with any exercise, even though yes, you are stronger in the more stretched position, you don't want to make it so extreme such that you're running into other problems like we've just described, or that you're really overloading that range at the expense of the rest of the entire range of motion. Now, I think this version of a cable curl is an absolutely fantastic option, but what I would say is that I prefer to do curls with a brace behind my arm, and many times it's just impractical to do if you're trying to do a cable curl. So a very simple way that you can mimic the forces and the benefits of a cable curl with dumbbells, but also with the support, is to do this side lying dumbbell curl bench variation. This provides the same benefits of training an average longer muscle length of the biceps, and then in addition, you actually have support behind your upper arms, so your shoulders really don't need to do any work to stabilize the motion, and you can just focus 100% on training the biceps in this curl. As a simple rule of thumb, the more leaned back you are, the more that you're going to load the stretch position of the exercise, and the more lean forward you are, the more you're going to load the shorter position of the exercise. My advice to you as a starting point would be to find somewhat of a balanced middle ground, because if you've never loaded this more elbow straight position, you want a great exposure to that position slowly. You might say, Ben, well, you're not getting as much of a stretch on the biceps in this variation, you're losing that aspect of the movement. And my response to that is not really, and let me show you why. If you represent both biceps muscles by this pink band, both of them attach somewhere on the shoulder blade. And both of the biceps are pretty much fully stretched when the arm is in line and maybe slightly behind the body. Why? Well, because all you need is for this bone and this bone to just move away from one another. And when the arm moves farther back than that, a lot of what's actually happening is through the shoulder blade and not the upper arm's motion relative to the shoulder blade. So here's the distinction. The biceps stretch when your arm goes like this. They do not stretch when your entire shoulder girdle moves like this. So if your arm is already pretty stretched and all you do is just move your shoulder blade far backward, it'll appear as if your arm is actually stretching more of the biceps. But in reality, the length isn't changing at all. Everything is just moving as a unit together. So the dumbbell variation will still do a fantastic job of targeting that more stretched position. Oh, and as an added bonus, you can also set this up if you have a cable functional trainer on the cable functional trainer by jamming your arms up against the handles on the machines. Though this variation won't allow you to load the bottom as much as the other two, it's still a fantastic option and still in that more shoulder extended arm position. If you're still watching at this point in the video, please hit that subscribe button and check the links in the description if you want to learn more from me.